Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. It is, whoops, what did I do there? I went to the wrong camera. Sorry about that. It's so great to be with you today. It's a really a great day down here in Fairhope, Alabama, USA. It's about 90 degrees outside, and we love this kind of warm weather down here. If you're watching us live, we hope you'll join us in the chat room. It's sponsored by Chatwing, chatwing.com. They don't pay us any money, but they do a good job, so we don't mind everybody knowing what we use. Chatwing.com is our chat room provider. Today's show is brought to you by, well, it's not really brought to you by anybody except me. I am actually, well, yeah, now's a good time for sort of the full disclosure part. Am I licensed? No, I think I'm an authorized. I'm an authorized VidBlaster reseller. And so as a result, if you are interested in purchasing the VidBlaster software license, you can purchase that from me. Go to thatvidblasterguy.com and go to the store and you can buy a license there. If you want to upgrade your version or upgrade to a different edition, I can help you with that too. That has to be sent, it has to be processed manually. So shoot me an email, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com. And I would be happy to help you with that as well. The show kind of was formed 2 years ago. We started in July 2012 with the concept that one guy with one PC could really do an awesome broadcast. And 2 years later, I will say that we're almost there. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there, better and better. I have gone back into the archives and brushed the digital dust off of our very, very first show, and I want to bring that up and show it to you in just a few minutes because it's hilarious. It is so awful. Oh gosh, I cringe when I look at it. But it's a good reminder of how far we've come. And you know, a lot of it, not all of it, is due to you, but a lot of it is due to you, to the folks that have spent time and energy helping me out. Martin Kay has done this great backdrop for me. You know, there are lots of other folks that have contributed along the way, and I really appreciate all that. And when you ask questions, when you shoot me an email, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com, and ask me, you know, Tom, how do I do fill in the blank? That helps me. It helps me because sometimes I don't know the answer. I have to go find the answer. I may have to go test a few things in order to help you answer that question. I'm always happy to answer a question at no charge, just a question, no charge. If it ends up being a protracted conversation by email or phone or Skype or whatever, yeah, we may ask for you to buy either a one-time support package or a full year support package, depending on what you need, unless you bought VidBlaster from us. If you bought it from us, then all that's included at no extra charge. So that's the commercial. And now back to the show. Got a great number of folks in the chat room today, and I want to welcome Dave and Martin and Ovinus and Tommy and Charles and Mark and Kent and Timothy and guest 799 and David and guest 7. It's always nice to have somebody in the chat room that wants to be known that they're there, but they want to stay slightly anonymous, and that's absolutely okay because sometimes you can speak a little bit more freely, and that's good too. So if you want to join us in chat, just click on. If you're watching us on YouTube, I'm sorry, you've missed out on all the chat. Actually, if you watch us on YouTube, within the week that the show is revealed, because we or uploaded, because we uploaded right afterwards, you can go back and read the chat because we leave the chat up for a week, and then I just delete the chat prior to the next week's show. So just this morning I deleted last week's chat session. But you can go see the chat and see who was saying what to whom. So just a reminder to the guys in chat: don't share any information that you don't want. Don't put your girlfriend's phone number down there or anything like that. Anyway. VidBlaster, for the last 3 weeks, we've been talking about VidBlaster's imminent release of version 3.23. Well, why is that significant? Well, it's significant, number one, because it hadn't happened. Number two, we've got a contest, a raffle. If you'd like to enter the raffle, I think most everybody that's entered, their dates have come and gone. So if you want to update your date, it'll cost you $1. Go to our new website. That's kind of our, what would you call it? Our umbrella is easternshorebroadcasting.com, and you can go there and sign up for the raffle. You win $100 worth of VidBlaster stuff. That could be credit towards an upgrade or towards your first purchase. It'll cost you $1 to enter. And if we get more than $100 in, we'll just keep raising the amount that we give away. So if we get $200 entered, we'll give away $200 worth of VidBlaster. So that'll be a lot of fun. easternshorebroadcasting.com. You can sign up right now. It'll cost you $1, a whole $1. But the idea with the contest is that you can pick the day it's going to be released. It's kind of like betting on when a baby's going to be born. In fact, it's almost exactly like that. And in this case, we would hope that it's released really soon. Saw a tweet from Mike Versteeg, the developer of VidBlaster. I guess it's been 10 days or 2 weeks ago now. And he asked if he couldn't enter the contest. He was feeling lucky. Well, number one, he doesn't want our $100 worth of VidBlaster stuff because he's got all the VidBlaster stuff he could want. And number two, I should have let him enter and seen what date he was going to pick. That would have been good. Then we would have known, because right now we're just guessing. We're just guessing. But this the new version, if you haven't heard about it, go back and watch last week's show, because we did a complete a pre-release review. How do you do a pre-release review? Well, you just fake it. That's how you do. But basically, we did a pre-release review, and we talked about all the features that have been shared about what's going to be in there. And so that's what we're expecting. The big news is a new streamer with a new encoder, not using Flash Media Live encoder, but using a different encoder that should be more efficient in its compression and maybe be sort of the holy grail of compression versus CPU use versus video quality, and having high video quality in a small file, i.e. easier to stream, without using a ton of CPU. So that would be just absolutely marvelous, marvelous, guys. So that it's going to be worth waiting for, but it would sure nice to be able to try it and test it and see when it's going to come. And as soon as it comes out, I'll let you know, and then we'll announce the contest winner. So that's going to be a lot of fun, I think. A lot of fun. Let's see. We've got really two main things on the agenda today. We've got some questions and answers, and then we've got video from the original show. I think we're going to go to the Q&A. If anybody in the chat room has got questions that they would like to post, now is a good time to do that. Something you've always wondered, we can pull it up and discuss it. And meanwhile, this week I got a question from initials GE in Pennsylvania, USA. And he says, I am in need of a switcher that uses HDMI input and will be compatible with VidBlaster. You with me so far? I wanted to know if a regular HDMI switcher and VidBlaster Pro plus my audio mixer will work for live streaming. Okay. All of my cameras have HDMI connections, and I would like to switch it through, and then he sent me a link to this, which is it appears to be a switch that is used to switch video sources like in a home theater system or something like that. It's manufactured by Monoswitch. It retails for about $40 US. You can see it's got 5 HDMI ports on it. 4 of them are probably inputs, and 1 of them is probably an output. And so that was kind of his first question. Could he use that, or could he use this, which is the Blackmagic, you recognize as the Blackmagic Design ATEM1, which of course is the other end of the spectrum. This costs $1,000 all by itself. And so he wanted to know, could he use either or both of those? I mean, not both of them, but could he use either of those? And the answer to the question is yes and no. Yes, you can use both of those. You can use either one of those, but, oh, and I'm sorry, and he went on to say that he's using a laptop. So he needs to get that input into a laptop. Well, regardless of whether you use the $39 switcher or the $1,000 switcher, you still have the issue of getting the video into the laptop. And if you're going to do high definition, it's going to have to come into your laptop through some sort of high definition capture device. And there are lots of ways to do that. The very first way that I knew of to do it, which I don't think is really viable anymore, is FireWire. There are several devices that have come on the market lately. Martin K did a review of one. It's a USB 3 dongle that will accept an HDMI input. We know Blackmagic has got the Blackmagic Intensity Shuttle, which is a USB 3 device. Doesn't work with every piece of hardware. It will accept, I think, HDMI and component as its high definition video input. There certainly, if you had SDI as your video, you could convert that to HDMI with a converter, a mini converter. There are lots of those out there on the market. But it would seem to me that you would end up spending a lot of money just to work around the fact that you've got a laptop that you already have. Yeah, Martin K is welcome, Martin, and he says that HDMI switchbox will switch, but in a non-synchronous way, which will probably give a glitch in every switching action. I think that's the case. That box was not intended as a live switcher. It's basically intended to switch video sources for whatever you're doing. The ATM TVS, for example, will give clean switching since it has a built-in synchronizer. That's per Martin, not per me. I wouldn't know that. Thank you, Martin, for registering that. But the idea, GE, is that maybe you need to take another look at the hardware that you're using to do your streaming, because you're trying to work around your laptop, and you may end up spending way more to work around your laptop than you could either buy, build, or have built for you a PC that has the capture devices built right into it, and so you don't have to do a bunch of conversions in order to get an HDMI switched input into your laptop. For example, Magewell makes a 4-port HDMI capture card that PCIe, so it'll plug right into a PC, and then all your conversions are over, and then you use VidBlaster as your software switcher, and you're switching your sources right there. It's possible, and I know you want something that's somewhat portable because you're going to be streaming remotely. But it's certainly possible to build a PC that is in a fairly small box. We built lots of them with cameras. With cameras. I'm looking at the chat room, saw the word camera, so it popped into my mouth. We've built a lot of small PCs with handles that can be fit into cases that are very portable, and that might be a better way to go about this. I do know that on one of your notes, he says, "I'm in desperate need of a rapid response," and I have this bad feeling on your behalf that there's not going to be a quick solution to what you want to do. I think, and I've been there. I show up and I'm realizing I don't have the equipment that I need to do what I thought I could do. I'm going to have to backtrack or do without, do the best I can under the circumstances. Certainly I've been in situations where I've shown up to do a soccer match and simply left parts behind and had to do workarounds. Had 3 cameras and 1 cable. That's happened before, and so you just have to adapt and figure out how to make do under those circumstances until you can get what you need. And in this case, I'm not sure, and we haven't had. I don't think we've really finished this conversation, he and I. But I should have asked him early on what his budget was. How much money does he have to spend? Does he have sponsors that will help him with some of his costs? Is this something that is a long-term gig or just a one-time deal? So all of that kind of comes into play. VidBlaster will do a great job of adding graphics. Whoops, right here. Of displaying videos. We're going to show a video in just a second. Of doing, green screen lower thirds. This is what that shot looks like without without Martin's really beautiful backdrop in it. VidBlaster will do that, but one of the things VidBlaster also does well is it switches. But if VidBlaster is only given one video source, i.e. the switching is handled outside of VidBlaster, then basically you're using VidBlaster. You're only using part of VidBlaster. You're using it to add graphics and text and maybe a scoreboard or something like that. I guess you could do instant replay of whatever the video feed was if this was a sporting event. But I think you're shortchanging yourself by not taking advantage of VidBlaster switching capability. And that means basically revamping your hardware part of it. So if that's a helpful answer, I'm glad. If not, darn, I know it's not the answer you want, but I think in the long term it might be the answer that is best suited for you. Check in here in the chat room to see. Martin K says the Magewell HDMI dongles work very well as USB 3 input devices. That's great. And the other Martin says that the AverMedia Live Gamer Portable does encoding, recording, and streaming, and that's helpful. That's actually this device right here that we are still playing with, the AverMedia Live Gamer Portable. So that's the answer to that question. GE from Pennsylvania, thank you for writing it in. Let's see here, time-wise. I want to be faithful to the 30-minute time limit on this show, but I do want to show you. I want to go back in time with you, and let's go back in time together and take a look at the very, very first VidBlaster Guy episode. And I'm going to start it at the beginning, and I want you guys to count all the mistakes that I make. So here we go. Here we go. Hello friends, welcome to That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair and I'm the host of the show, and I appreciate folks that have already joined into the chat. If you haven't figured out about the chat, there's a little arrow to the right of the screen that will bring up, first of all, information about the show, and then if you click on the chat at the top right hand corner, it'll bring up the chat and it'll kind of stay out there to the side. And you can chat with each other and let me know when I make a mistake. But try to keep that to a minimum. Really appreciate y'all tuning in this afternoon. Just will mention now that we're going to rebroadcast this pretty much right after the show is completed onto Bamboozer. So if you missed something and you want to come back and get it, we'll be rebroadcasting it again on Bamboozer, and then it will be available in their archives right after that. So delighted to be here and have you with me. Wanted to tell you how I got started with VidBlaster and with webcasting, and it's really kind of an interesting story. Several years ago, a friend asked me, I was helping him with a website for a soccer tournament, and I had been doing that for a couple of years, and so he figured I was, Mr. Computer Guru, and said, well, can you figure out a way to let the folks that can't come to the soccer tournament watch the soccer tournament on the internet on the website? And I said, oh, sure, I can do that, no problem. Well, I didn't have a clue what I was talking about, but I figured there had to be a way to do that. And this is probably 2006, 2007, something like that. And I searched around the internet for everything I could find, and back then there wasn't a whole lot of information out there. And finally came upon a website, boy, I wish I could remember what it was, and they would allow you to link your webcam to a little teeny broadcast script that they had, and they would broadcast whatever you had on your webcam, the webcam audio and the webcam video, on a little teeny thing about maybe that big on this screen right here. Maybe it was that big. I mean, it was just big enough to see little ants running around. But we did it, and we put it online, and the folks, we had several soccer teams. I'm in Alabama on the Gulf Coast, and we had several soccer teams from Oklahoma bus in for the tournament, and of course not everybody can come, and the folks back home in Oklahoma were thrilled. They couldn't see anything except little ants running around, but they could hear the background noise, and we would take a clipboard with paper and write the score on that and put it in front of the webcam, and when it was halftime, we'd pull the page back where we had already written halftime and put that in front of the camera. And at one point, I think on the second day of the tournament, we started getting pretty fancy, and we actually started talking out loud to let people know which team was which color, little basic things like that. And that was my, oh yeah, of course the coup de grace of all this is the little low resolution webcam we had duct taped to a tripod because there was no other way to attach it to the tripod. And we would just turn the tripod back and forth. There was no zooming or anything like that. Instant replay, of course. I mean, wow, no way. But at that point, I was hooked. And of course, the reviews that came back from Oklahoma were wonderful. Golly gee, if we felt like we were there. Well, they were blind then, but nevertheless, it was a lot of fun to get that great feedback. And that began my search for software that I would have on my end, and then places out there, we call them CDNs now, content delivery networks, that would have the ability to take what I had and broadcast it. Okay, I can't take much more of that. That was awful. That was awful. As Martin says, maybe edited highlights would have been better, but that would have meant that I would have had to watch that more than once as I went through and edited it. But it does make the point that you can get a message across without being perfect, number one, and that if you continue to work at it, you can work out some of the bugs that are the things that offended you. For example, audio back then was a little glitchy. I think I was still using the same Logitech C920 webcam that I'm using now, 2 years later. But, as a couple of folks in chat noticed, whenever I had a wild hand motion, the autofocus would kick in, and so it would go out of focus for a second or so. And so that's just a matter of learning your equipment, learning the limitations, learning where the strengths and the weaknesses are so that you can play to your strengths. And I realized that one of my strengths was the ability to really not be too frazzled about whatever might go wrong and continue on. And so that, and 2 years later, here we are, still plugging away, still making mistakes, still improving, and having a lot of fun doing it. So if you've got a passion for something and you'd like to take your passion and share it with the world, this is a great way to do it, And VidBlaster is a great tool to use in that process. Oh yeah, now we've got somebody in the chat room that says, can I unmute the stream now that other thing is gone? Oh my goodness, I love it. That's it for today's show. Hang around. We've got post show in just a second, and then we'll start our second segment with Streaming Idiots that we'll tape live here, and then and release on YouTube on Fridays. But I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster Guy. If I can help you with a VidBlaster question, shoot me a note, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com. If you're interested in purchasing VidBlaster, you can find it at thatvidblasterguy.com. And what else? Oh, that's about it for today. Toodles. We'll see if we can't gracefully get out of this show and get on to the next one. Thanks so much.